Today is Thursday, February 11th, and welcome to the 8:30 show. I'm KJ, and every Thursday night you'll find me here at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube at Metro Conservative Media. Please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. At the same time, I'm also live on Facebook at the Metro Conservative Media page. Please like our page. We appreciate the support. This is a show where I chat with various individuals about their conservative journey. Tonight, I am talking to Erman Baradi. Erman is a filmmaker, screenwriter, host, and founder of the Hollywood networking platform Ermantourage. Erman's passion as a storyteller includes bridging entertainment and humanitarian efforts, in addition to being a voice for Asian Americans in cinema. Through Ermantourage, Erman spotlights and gives back to special causes such as mental health, suicide prevention, endeavors, cancer prevention, and children's art programs. It's no wonder Huffington Post recognized Erman as a top networker in Hollywood. He hails from Virginia Beach, Virginia, and currently resides in Los Angeles. How's it going, Erman?
Thank you so much for having me. It's so funny. The moment I came on camera, I was raising my arms like this. I was like, "Oh, is it right now?" Like I didn't know the camera. I didn't know the camera was gonna turn to me right away. But here I am.
Yes. Well, that's fine. That's fine. You should be doing like this. I mean, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You are doing so many great things. So I'm so excited to have you on tonight. Really excited about this interview. So just before we get into politics and your conservative journey, I always like to play a sort of game of random question, this or that. Okay, so basically, it's just a fun way for the audience to get to know you. So I'll provide you with two options, and then you choose which option is best suits you, or you feel is best resembles what you like.
Okay. Sounds easy.
Yeah, it's easy. It's fun. So let's see. So the first is Marvel or DC Comics?
Are we talking comics or are we talking just in general, like the cinema?
Cinema. Marvel or DC, Marvel. Yeah. Okay. Comfortable silences or incredible conversations?
I'll say conversations. I'm a talky guy, so I love conversations. I love good intellectual conversations.
Okay. All right. If you had to choose, would you rather be called vain or insecure?
Ooh, vain.
Okay.
You want an explanation for that, or we can keep it at that?
No, we keep it at this. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Next, which do you feel closer to? Open K through 12 schools or continue virtual for the rest of the school year?
Open K through 12.
Okay. Which do you like? Surprises or something to look forward to?
Something to look forward to. I like the anticipation. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Which do you agree most with? Require national mask mandate or let each state decide?
I'd rather have the state decide. Okay.
All right. And if you have to choose on this one, which would you choose for next president? Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson?
Oh my gosh, that's interesting. Ooh, that's tough. You know what? Okay, hold on. I'm going to think about it more, but my gut feeling is Candace for president, Tucker for VP.
Okay. And then which season do you prefer, winter or summer?
Ooh. You know what? This might surprise people. I'm going to go with winter just because I like winter clothing. I like layered clothing.
Oh, okay. That's a good reason. And then the last one is, this is actually a question. What's the first thing you notice on a stranger?
Their smile.
Okay. All right. So that was cool. So next we will move into our next segment, which talks about your conservative journey.
Okay.
So can you discuss or just kind of describe when you became a conservative? Were you always a conservative? And then and what brought you to conservatism?
Oh, for sure. So I was born and raised in Virginia Beach, Virginia. It was red at the time. So I was born in 1989. It turned blue in, I think, 2008 because of Obama. But before that, it was hard red. It was like well, I don't say strictly red, but it was pretty red. And but I'm Filipino American, and Filipino Americans tend to be conservative / Republican. I guess it kind of depends on the generation. But my parents came to the States in the 80s, so we grew up with traditional values, traditional conservative values. And growing up, it was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't like said out loud, or wasn't like certain. It wasn't necessarily practiced. But it was, I would say, high school.
Okay.
Just high school / college. I did go to a Christian college, and I'll be honest with you. Oh, here's the funny part of my journey. I went to Christian college, and which people tend to associate conservatism with Christianity, which is cool. And but the college that I went to, as much as I enjoyed going, it was one of those colleges where the stereotypical homeschool kind of Christian went, so it kind of turned me off a little bit. I'm like, yo, these aren't like cool people, they're kind of like dorky, and it wasn't, I know
exactly what you're talking about.
You want to hang around with, and
right.
Kind of, some people were too Christian, too conservative, where you can't really breathe around them, right? And we know some people who are super extreme, right? And like I said, I was voted red down ticket. And then in 2012, I interned in Hollywood. Fall of 2012. So the conversations circle around Obama, which I'm not a hater, but like I didn't vote for him. But the internship I went to in West Hollywood, it was my first experience in the entertainment industry, firsthand. And the culture there was very like, it's like they assumed you're liberal.
Right.
So it was my friend and I. I'm not gonna name him, but my friend and I were like the only Republicans there, to our knowledge. So while everyone's talking about their beliefs, we're kind of like in the back, like what do we say? Like how do we react? So every now and then we talk amongst ourselves, like privately, like, man, can't believe this guy over here, right? So that was my first foray into entertainment, and you can just see how indoctrinated it was. Now, mind you, 8 years later, I'm still pursuing entertainment as a career. And what's really interesting, and people on my social media will notice this, this started maybe last year. So leading to the elections, I started being more vocal, but not outwardly saying Trump 2020. It was more so like just leaving breadcrumbs here and there. And my closeted conservative friends, they see the post every day, and they slowly come out to me as conservative.
Right.
They were like, people I've known for years, and we wouldn't have this conversation. People who I knew for years, who were secretly conservative or Republican, they'd be like, "Yo, you too?" It was like this dog whistle, right? So like out of 200 people who see a story, 10 of them would be like, "Yo, you too?" Because they know. Right?
Yeah.
So it was this cool thing where like every day another conservative would come out to me, and it was a trend, right? It happened for a few months, and so even though I'm pursuing entertainment, I still have to be careful, because I'm not there yet in my career to where I can just outwardly say it without protection of a fan base,
Right.
Because you see right now, like Gina Carano just got canceled,
right,
from Mandalorian, strong woman.
And she didn't even, what she said, I didn't feel was outwardly, even conservatives. I mean, I don't see why they got so upset, not conservative, but about what she said.
Yeah. And so there's actually more people in the entertainment industry, whether they're established, whether they're on the rise, whether they're attempting a career in Hollywood. There's a lot of us. There's a lot more of us than we think. And they're for lack of better terms, they're coming out as conservative more and more. And you'll see it on social media. A lot of my friends who are in the entertainment industry, they're on our side. And but we're in this liberal culture in LA in the entertainment industry, so it's like a hush hush kind of thing. Like I share things on my close friends section of Instagram.
right.
Heavily political stuff I share in close friends. because those are like 200 plus people that I know specifically are
That's a good
conservative.
idea.
Yeah. So because like I said, I gotta be careful because I'm not. Yeah.
And one thing, because Maryland, where I am, is very liberal too, and so one thing I get the same thing, especially being a Black person. Everyone always assumes, like even on my street when Biden won,
yeah,
or when he said he won, a neighbor came out and they said, "Hey, like finally, right?" And I'm like, because I was just like so disgusted about the whole thing. And so he was like, "What? And I was like, "I didn't vote for him,"
And then he just looked at you like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, he did. Yeah, like what's wrong with you? But let me change pages a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you feel is the biggest misconception that liberals have about conservatives?
Oh, for sure.
Because one thing you said that kind of I felt some kinship with you is about the college you went to, because I think most people think conservatives are kind of stuffy and not creative and it's not the case. So what's the biggest misconception
what's funny is that when people ask me this question, it takes me back to like 10 years ago. So when I first voted in 2008, like I said, I voted red. However, even I believed at the time, like some of these stereotypes, like, oh, come on, guys, like, why are we like this? Why is our side like this? Because back then I'd watch Tucker and Bill O'Reilly and say, what are you guys talking about? But then nowadays I'm like, okay, I get it. The culture wars, I get it. Like whatever you're talking about, I understand. So, what was your question again? Sorry,
what's the biggest misconception that liberals have about conservatives? Mm-hmm.
First off, like white supremacists, right? Like,
right.
The conservatives like to tell you what to do. That we like to force beliefs on you. The misconception that we like to limit your speech.
Right.
We like to tell you what to say. I think it does associate itself with like, okay, a lot of us are Christians, and Christians are religious. Religion likes to tell you what to do, but like honestly, as conservatives, we believe in individual freedom.
Right.
Like you choose your religion, you choose what you can do, you choose what you can say. I think that's a misconception about us, which is funny because nowadays we're not the ones limiting speech.
No.
We fight for free speech. We're fighting for your free speech too, liberals, not just ours. Like we want you to be able to say what you can. Of course, we know they can say what they can. They can say what they want to say without any judgment or conviction. But that was the biggest misconception even for me back in the day. It's like, why are we like this? But then when it's funny when people get red pilled. I talked to a lot of friends who've been red pilled in the last 2 or 3 years, and they have the same experience where it's like, oh, that's what I thought about you guys. That's what I thought about us before too. And then the moment you cross over and like this cloud, this cloudiness like dissipates, then they see what we're really about.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I remember when I went to my first Trump rally, and I was a little nervous. I was, but it was so much love. I mean, it was so much fun, and people prayed. We were praying together. We were laughing. We were talking. No one, treated me in, any racism or anything like that. And people are like, they can't, I tell people about it. Say, I can't believe you made it out alive, or stuff like that. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I have a story about my first Trump rally. This was back in 2016 when I still lived in Virginia Beach. So Trump came to the college I attended, mind you, Christian college. So my family attended more so out of curiosity. Even though I was a registered voter in Virginia, I'll be honest with you, folks, I actually didn't vote in 2016. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second, actually.
Okay.
But in 2016, he came to rally in Virginia Beach. I'm looking around like no one here seems crazy. They look, first off, they look like us. It was really diverse. Regular people.
Right.
Regular people. Actually, in 2016, I didn't vote because first off, I wasn't going to vote for Hillary, first and foremost. Right. But I was actually visiting LA at the time. And I prefer to vote in person. I was visiting LA at the time during the elections, and I was like, I didn't vote. And even then, I'll be honest with you, at the time, I was like, okay, even though I wasn't going to vote for Hillary, Trump still won me over. So I didn't vote for that first time around. And here I am on election day, surrounded by liberal actors in LA. So as the night goes on and the results come in and Trump's winning, like they're like, mind you, they're my buddies. I'm not talking down to them, but they're like moaning and pissing about him like winning, and then he eventually won. And then they're like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. He's gonna nuke the entire planet. Like I'm like, yo, nothing has happened yet. Like chill.
Right.
Like so that kind of got my thoughts going. Like, what are you talking about? And then what really turned me off about the media. Now, mind you, I work in entertainment,
Right.
but you know, I watched mainstream media too at the time, and I watched CNN at the time. I watched all these different outlets at the time. Like you just said, Huffington Post. Huffington Post is a liberal leaning.
Right.
I don't say liberal leaning. It's just a liberal organization, a liberal media company, and I was mentioning them at one point, and so like I would read stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then like that summer 2017, the whole Charlottesville happened, unfortunately, and then I remember how the media was talking about Trump never denounced racism, he never denounced white supremacy, and I'm going, what are you watching? Like he just
Right. He did.
what are you guys talking about? And that's when I was like, okay, turn off the TV, no more of this. That was when I lost faith completely in the mainstream media. So here, like 4 or 5 years later, I every now and then I take a peek at what they write about, but like it just headlines, this clickbait. I don't, I can't stand mainstream media. Even though I'm pursuing entertainment, I can't stand mainstream media because it's like I feel like the job of the mainstream media is not even to tell the truth, is to tell a story, right? It's to rile you up.
Narrative.
To rile you up so that you hate the person they want you to hate. So
exactly.
Like nowadays, what they're talking, kids in cages are no longer the term. It's like what what's the phrase nowadays? It's like it's no longer kids in cages because it's not Trump anymore. Because
right.
It's called like
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name either.
They changed the terminology. So that's what
exactly.
So my faith in mainstream media.
And so what is it? What do you believe it means to be conservative in 2021? How do you feel it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know people don't like this phrase because they tend to associate it with like conspiracy theorists, but free thinkers is literally what it is.
Yeah.
It's more, and it's not like, oh, I'm going to believe conspiracy theories. It's more so, okay, the mainstream media, the media, social media, these different organizations, like these different, how do you say this? Like the education system, all these different places or these organizations will tell you what to think, or they'll tell you the narrative, right? And then, like as free thinkers, we're like, okay, let me dissect this before I pick a side. That's all it is, because I think we're kind of, because all these places are indoctrinated by liberalism, we kind of live in a leftist society by default. Our skin color, brown, you're black, I'm brown. By default, we're supposed to be leftist or liberal, right? But when you're able, that's just by default, right? But when you're able to think free for yourself, a lot of us pick the other side because we're like, okay, this is not what I want. I'm on this side, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess just by basic terminology, it's just free thinking,
And you know what? I've never thought about it like that. Like by default, we in how society deems us, we're supposed to be on the left. Mm-hmm. But then the actual act of going against that is actually free thinking because you're going against the default.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you. I now. But no, it really is if you think about it. And the moment you turn on TV, the moment you turn on radio, the moment you wake up and look at your Instagram and Facebook, what do you see? It's mostly like leftist articles. Mm-hmm. The news for the day. Oh, okay. Here's a post from Now This or Huffington Post or whatever. Like these are things that are trending, right? Mm-hmm. So we wake up to a default leftist society, but then it's kind of weird. We're like the rebels, like we're like underground rebellion, right? So I think that's why it feels a little cool. I think that's what makes it feel a little cool.
Yeah.
In 2021. Yeah.
I agree. And one thing I saw a couple months ago, I'm not sure if you follow or know Will DeWitt from PragerU. And so he posted, it was funny, something about dating. He was like, just dating as a conservative is really tough right now. It's just like, because the conversations, and then sometimes when people find out he has conservative views or he's Republican, women don't want anything to do with him. How's that for you? I'm not sure if you're.
How funny is this? 3 years ago, I was scared of dating because of that, right? Like, oh, we're getting along so well. So who did you vote for in 2016? Like, that was the conversation that I would like just hate having. Nowadays, I'll be honest with you. Nowadays, because of the fact a lot of former leftists were red-pilled recently, I've come across a lot of attractive women that I would date that are fortunately conservative or Republican. Like, it's kind of working out for us nowadays.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier than it was a few years ago. At least for me, even in LA, you think LA is super, super blue. Of course it is. But then you'll find that community conservatives with models, actresses, singers. I'm not saying that they have to look pretty, of course, but in terms of dating, it's become easier for us as conservative men in these larger cities like LA or New York or Miami, because there's a lot more of us nowadays than you'd think. We know 75 million plus voters. Whatever you want, 75, 80, whatever you want to say.
Right.
But it's become easier for us, especially on social media. How do I find the women? Let me look up PragerU. Who's following PragerU? Who's following Candace? Oh, she looks nice. That kind of thing. So
that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. You go in there, you look at that, and then you connect with people different ways.
Yeah.
And meet people that are like-minded. Okay. And then as far as California is concerned, just because we were talking before this with the pronouns, now everyone wants you to say your pronoun. So if you're in a situation where you're out at a networking event or just a social event, and someone what's your pronoun? Because I was in a situation, I was with a group of people, and one of the guys was talking. I can't even remember what we were talking about, but it was just a random conversation. And one of the girls said to him, "Oh, well, you're talking from a cisgender place. You're cisgender male, white male, and you're coming from a place of that," or something like that. And he was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So it's just like, it always goes, even if you're not talking about politics. And I'm not going to say most times, but a lot of times people bring you, leftists bring you there.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do in that situation?
Because I haven't been to a mixer in a year because of COVID.
Right.
If it was to happen for me, I would just challenge them. I'd say, "Oh, so take a guess. What do you think? Tell me, what do you think my pronouns are?" And because I think it would challenge their own thinking. Like if they say, "Okay, I'm gonna say your pronouns are he, him," I'd say, "Why do you assume that?" Just challenge them, make them think about their own, their own outlook on it. Because if they say he, him, I'd be like, "Why do you assume that? You're straight. Why do you assume I'm straight? Why do you assume I identify as straight?" Like, just keep challenging them and see what happens.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, because it's like what they're gonna fall into their own preconceived notions or what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotypes. They're gonna fall into their own stereotypes. It might happen.
Yeah, you're right. And so where do you feel like the culture is going? I mean, we just saw this week where, like you mentioned earlier, Gina, I think Marino from Carano, right?
Yeah.
From The Mandalorian was totally canceled. And I watched The Mandalorian, so I love her character on there. Where do you think we're going with this, especially with cancel culture? Do you think it's going to continue? You think we're moving towards ending it or putting us?
You know what's funny? Before I get to that, how funny is this? So today on social media, I posted on Instagram, my Instagram story, I posted about Gina Carano, and Instagram keeps thinking it's Corona. So in the COVID information thing at the bottom, I'm like, yo, it's Corona, it's Carino or like
Right.
Corona, and then every time I post it, Corona, like COVID-19 information.
Right.
Like,
And they're supposed to be like the fact checkers,
like,
like
it's like, yo, why do you
supposed to be
keep
the
thinking
place of
Corona?
truth.
Why do you keep thinking Corona is Corona? Anyway,
Corona.
it's funny to me because it might be. What if it comes to a point where they cancel all conservatives to the point where they have no one else to cancel? What are they going to do? Cancel themselves? Like,
Well, look what they did with Van Jones. I'm not sure if you followed that stuff.
You know, I'm kind of indifferent with Van Jones, but I saw what happened on The View.
Yeah, yeah.
Yo, what are you doing? Like, you're pushing people away from your own side.
Right.
You know, for smiling in a picture with a conservative, what are you saying? We can't coexist no more. We can't stand a picture of somebody. We can't. There's no bipartisanship anymore. Like, but by judging people by literally standing a picture with somebody who's different politically, you're saying that we shouldn't be united. We should be divided.
Right.
You know, so that's the opposite of what they're claiming to say. Oh, we should be united. We shouldn't be divided. You're literally saying now that two people of different belief systems can't be in a picture together. So what's your argument?
Inclusive diversity. Where's the inclusive diversity?
Diversity and inclusion to me includes diversity in thought, not just diversity in skin color.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's going to continue to happen. Now, mind you, I believe personally that it's not even about what people say anymore. It's about how they vote. So, because not to say names, but there's another actor on The Mandalorian who said something back in 2018. He said the same thing.
I saw that.
Yeah. He said the same exact thing, but he claimed Nazi. He said America today is like Nazism, right, or something like that, right?
Right.
Same thing, but it's a different spin on it per his political party. So he said, the liberal said it's fine. Gina said something, and now she's fired. You know, so
because her something was in support of conservatives or Trump.
Exactly.
She didn't even say Trump. I don't believe in.
No, she didn't.
This thing, yeah.
She didn't, but because they know that she probably voted for him. Oh, right. But you can see the Democratic double standard, like they call it, the Democratic double standard, DDS.
DDS.
Yeah, Democrat double standard.
Right.
It's or as you know, Trump Jr. says, or Don Jr. says, liberal privilege. They can get away with anything. So, like you can cancel one side, not the other. So you can see the hypocrisy there. I think it still can continue. I just wonder when it's going to stop, because it might come to a point where they see how like dumb it is. Because here's the thing, cancel culture, it doesn't leave room for conversation. It's I disagree with you, goodbye. You know, you voted for who? Goodbye. It's not even about why you voted for somebody or why you think this way. It's just that the simple fact is you voted this way. The simple fact is you're conservative. You know, it's like you're immediately put in this bubble of you're white supremacist. Goodbye. Say no. Like, can we have these conversations, because there are minute details as to why people think a certain way. You know.
Right.
So that's why you notice nowadays when the media talks about anything right wing, they group it as far right. You can be a moderate, you can be center right, but the moment they talk about you, you're far right. Kind of like when Brandon Strzok got in trouble, the founder of Block.
Right.
I was seeing these articles about him. Of course, they're bad mouthing him, but they're like far right activist. Far right? What? What are you talking about? White supremacist? What?
No, I've met him several times. Nice guy.
Yeah, and so like, man, cancel culture is if cancel culture does continue, I hope that it continues to a point where it eventually impacts the left, so they see, okay, this is actually ridiculous.
I think that's where we're moving towards, like you mentioned, with the whole thing with Van Jones. And then, Ellen DeGeneres was canceled for a while. And I think that's when people will start to see the hypocrisy of it. Because when you start to cancel people who have, for lack of a better word, street cred on the liberal side, then you start to say, well, wait a minute, this person has done this, this, and this. Now we're canceling them. It doesn't make sense.
But you notice how quickly they forgave Ellen. Liberals are allowed to be forgiven. Conservatives are supposed to be canceled forever and ever and ever.
Forever. Right. You're right. Well, we are getting to the end, closer to the end of the show. One thing I do with all of my guests before we end, I like to ask, what is your number one concern for the country? And then what is your number one hope for the country?
My number one hope is that in 2024, conservatism will be as strong as ever. People will finally view us as cool or as diverse as we are, because we are super diverse. When liberal media turns on the camera, they direct it a certain look, right? But if you look behind the camera, around the camera, it's like they look like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
So let's be honest here. Like, they know what they're doing when they turn on the camera. I think our movement is going to go stronger in terms of youth. In terms of diversity, so I'm hopeful for that. Like you mentioned in 2024, Candace or Tucker, I think we're gonna have some strong contenders, not only on the federal level, but on the local and state. Now, something that people don't recognize is that on the local and state, there are plenty of conservatives who look like us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, if you do your research, there's a lot of unfortunately, not a lot of them won in 2020, but I think in 2022, we might take the House. We might get with these same politicians who look like us.
Right.
So that's my hope. My biggest concern is that we mentioned cancel culture earlier. My biggest concern is that they might literally wipe us off. Not like physically, not physically, but like our voices will be silenced even more and more. So like, where do we go? Where can we voice concerns? If we're all taken off Instagram, then that means all our friends will only have one perception. There's nothing to counter what's being fed to them, and we'll unfortunately lose them too. I don't want to lose our friends in the middle because all they hear is liberal media. We need our voices on these mainstream platforms as well, so that it counters what the left is saying. So unfortunately, I do see us being deplatformed more and more. Hopefully not all of us, but it's going to continue to happen, unfortunately. But my hope is that leading to the next 4 years into 2024, people will be red-pilled, for lack of better terms, and seeing that some of our own liberal friends. I know a lot of liberals who cross over because they're like, "Oh, I see the damage that I did." So, because I know some folks who rioted, who are now strong conservatives because they're like, "Whoa, I messed up. I contribute to the mess. Now let me fix it."
Wow, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
I am hopeful.
All right. And then, are there any events or any ways you'd like to share where people can connect with you and reach out to you?
Yeah. On Instagram, Erman Baradi, ERMANBARADI. Same thing on Twitter. DM me if you want to be added to my close friends list, so that you can see more of my political stuff. Because, like I said, I do still gotta be careful with my blossoming career in the entertainment industry. But upcoming events, I have a few that you can check out. In April, I have another all-day summit on Zoom where we have guest speakers in the film and music industry. So check it out, April 24th and May 1st. You can check them out on my Instagram and Twitter. So that's like the best place to check me out.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us tonight. So that does it. That wraps up this episode of the 8:30 show. Like, share, and leave a comment on our Facebook page or our YouTube page at Metro Conservative Media. We love to get your feedback. I hope to connect with you again next Thursday at the same time. Wishing you warm days and starry nights. Good night.
Oh, you talking about them? You'll see me too. You'll see me again too. Hopefully next time you see me with my haircut, an actual haircut.
I like your hair.
You might see me blonde next time. I'm gonna go back to blonde.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right.